the new part of our tutorials, we're going to talk about sets. Sets are pretty much like arrays with the difference that they're written in a bit different format, and there might be some different methods that we will use alongside this tutorial for the sets, which is a bit different than the arrays. So here I'm going to create a new file, call it sets.js. And we'll keep this for now, but before that, let us also create an HTML file for the sets. So I'm going to copy file.html and I'm going to rename it to sets.html. And here I'm going to change the script source to sets.js. And save this. So here we have sets.html and sets.js. So let me just close some of these scripts. Anyway, okay, no problem. So we have sets.js. So okay, I'm going to create a new set. So const list of for example, list of cars, and here, so let me write this with small letters. So I'm here, in order to define a set, I can write new set, or set this way, new set, and then we have parentheses, and then we have an array. So we can write it in the form of an array inside of the parentheses. In order to do that, I can write the whole array inside of the parentheses with the new set syntax, and then I can write the elements of the array inside of this square brackets. So here I can write, for example, BMW. Notice that it should be a string because it's a list of the names of the cars. BMW, Ford. Actually, these are the name of the brands. Tesla, and for example, Ferrari, and so on. So there are so many other companies that I can name here, but for now, okay, let me add the Japanese car company. Okay, Mitsubishi. So there we go. We have new set containing all of these cars. And by the way, set should be written with the capital S, as you can see here. So there we go. And if you want to add some item to this, some element to this set, you can use .add method. So here I can write list of cars dot add, and then I can add the kind of car I want here. So here what we haven't written is, for example, Lamborghini. I'm not sure how it's written, but I've written it this way. I hope it's the correct way of writing Lamborghini, but if it's not correct, just forgive me for that. So let us print this out on the HTML elements. So here I can write, instead of names, I can write, I can omit this one actually, and here write cars, and here let's see the car list. Okay, let's save this, and here I want to print out let us create text, and here I'm going to write the entire set itself. So I can write list of the cars, right? So let's see what happens if we want to print out on the HTML elements. You can also console log like this one, but let us see how it's going to be printed out on the HTML element. So I can write document dot get elements by ID, and then we have parentheses and then the name of the ID, which is cars dot inner HTML, which is equal to text here, and let's save this. So now what I'm going to do is to open up the file called sets.html to test this out. Okay, let's find sets.html. It should be right over here. Okay, there we go. And now, as you can see, we have, let's see the cars list, but here we have object sets. So we cannot see the objects, the elements of the set by themselves. We can only see that there is a set. In order to see the elements of the set, we can use for each. So let me just comment this part, comment this line, and instead of that I can write text and make it equal to empty text, and then I can write I equals to 0, and I can write list of cars, or let us put it another way. I can use for each, and then, or I can loop through the set by itself. So any one of these methods can work. So let's see which one is better. I think for each is going to work much better. So now for each is better, so we don't need I. So let's write list of the cars dot for each, and then we have the value, which should be included here in as the inputs, and then we have the block for each. So text plus equal, and then we're going to list all the items. So first of all, I'm going to write the value for each one of the elements. So for the first one, it will be BMW and so on. And plus, we're going to have a string, and inside of it, we can write the tag br for going to the next line, and then going after the other elements, and so on. So let's save this, and as a result, see what happens here on our browser. And you should be able to see something here. Come on. So let's see what's the problem here. So we're printing out text, and so we've saved this, and we also have the cars as the idea of what we're going to print out here. So no problem here in the HTML. But what about the text? So the problem here is we haven't written function. Okay, so we should also write the function, because it is going to be a function. So the function is going to be included inside of the for each, and then this function is going to loop through the every one of the items inside of this set. So let's save this, and now let's try another time. For here, again, it's not working. So let's see, we're gonna find out what the problem is. Okay, another small detail is, as you can see here, you have an error. So what is expected here is that we use parentheses right after a block. So we're going to contain the entire block inside of this. So for each, and then this way it's going to be much more summarized than writing the name of the function and then write the function somewhere else and use the value. So no difference, but this way it's going to be much more summarized. So let me save this, and let us try this one. As you can see, we have all of the items of the set printed out right over here, and we've looped through the sets using this method as well. We could have also written the function outside of this parentheses. So I'm not going to do that because we've done it over and over again and it will be ordinary for you. But what if we want to write a for loop and we want to write this, we want to loop through this set using the for loop instead of the for each. So let's try that one as well. So here we write for, and in order to find the values, we can do something else. We can write const x in list of cars, and then we have the block, and then here we should also write list of cars dot values dot values, and then we have parentheses for this, and then we can write the text itself. So let's here define another text equals, and then we have empty text. By the way, it's text number 2 because we have had another text. But it doesn't really matter because if you write an empty text, you've changed this text to something else and it doesn't really make a difference. But preferably I've changed this to text number 2. So here text number 2 plus equal to, and then we can write the x itself, because x is going to contain list of cars values. So we are looping through the values of these sets. So, and then I'm going to add it with the br tag so that we have them in separate lines. And then I can write document dot get elements by ID, and here we can write another HTML p tag for the cars. So for example, cars 2 and save this. So here cars 2 dot inner HTML equals to text number 2. So let's save this and refresh the Google Chrome's page. Here something is not working very well. Let's see what that is. So here we have cars number 2, cars number 2. And here we have list of cars that values, and we've put it inside of the X. And so this one should work. Something seems to be wrong. Let me check. So it's a very, very small problem, and you might have noticed this, and that is of here. So here we don't write in, we use of, and try not to mix up of and in, because it might happen a lot, especially if you have worked with Python and JavaScript together. You will mix these two together. So because when you want to loop through an array or a set, here you use of, not in, but in Python you use in. In JavaScript we have in as well, but that is for the number related to each one of these elements. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. But keep that in mind because this is an important tip, and you might fall into a lot of problems if you don't notice this problem. So let's save the code and let's try again. As you can see, we have this one printed out, the list of all of the cars here. And there we go, this for loop has worked, and there we go. So that's it. We've learned how to work with the arrays and actually the sets, and how to loop through the sets, how to add elements to the sets, and how to define the sets using an array. So if you have an array, you can put it right inside of these parentheses and write new set. There's not a very big difference between set and array, but it's going to be useful for some cases, which we're going to talk about it later. But for now, this is it for the part related to the sets.